Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Kareem. Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina wa Mawlana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'du fa'udhu billahi min ash-shaytanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من يريد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Most esteemed assembly of ulama kiram, most respected mashayikh, alhamdulillah, it is only due to the fazl and grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it was possible for us to assemble here today. We make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this gathering, to make it a means of hidayat for us and for the entire ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Topic under discussion today, as you know, is managing the ikhtilaaf and difference of opinion. Before we discuss the actual topic, we need to understand a few matters that are related to this in order to understand this topic in its proper perspective. This topic is extremely pertinent due to the prevailing circumstances and the difference of opinions that we are experiencing in this day and age, which was not such prior to this. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to understand the reality of the difference of opinion, what is the status, and what should be our reaction. To begin with, most important thing to understand at the outset is the definition of ikhtilaaf and the difference with khilaf. This is something that we find many people do not understand, and because of this, we find confusion and chaos in many quarters of the ummah. According to Imam Raghib Isfahani rahmatullah alayhi, he mentions that ikhtilaaf means for people to adopt different methods of action or speech. And he also explains by an example that it is like a group of people who are going in the same direction, but they take different routes to reach there. This is ikhtilaaf that is praiseworthy. People going in the same direction, but they take different routes to reach there. Meaning that ultimately everybody reaches the destination by taking different routes. This is the ikhtilaaf that is praiseworthy. Allama Kafawi rahmatullah alayhi explains the difference between ikhtilaaf and khilaf as follows. He mentions four things here. Firstly, in ikhtilaaf, the route that is taken is different, but the destination and objective is the same. Whereas in khilaf, both that they are different. The route and the destination is different. In khilaf, both the route and the destination is different, whereas in ikhtilaaf, the route is different, but the destination is the same. Secondly, he mentions that ikhtilaaf is always substantiated with some proof and some evidence, whereas khilaf is such that it is not backed up and supported by any daleel or by any proof. Thirdly, he mentions that ikhtilaaf is actually the asar and the effects of rahmah and mercy, and whereas khilaf is from the effects of innovation and bid'ah. Fourthly, he mentions the decision of a judge that is based on khilaf can be reversed by another judge, while that which is based on ikhtilaaf cannot be overturned. A decision of a judge that is based on khilaf can be reversed by another judge, but that which is based on ikhtilaaf cannot be overturned. To show the distinctions and the differences between khilaf and ikhtilaaf. Who has the right of ikhtilaaf? Another very important matter and significant matter, we find in many areas, all and sundry express their comments, and it becomes a view that people feel that this is one of the differences. But we should remember that in any sort of academic discussion, ahliyat, capability, aptitude, and eligibility is a precondition. Irrespective of what the function is, what the activity is, a person must have the ahliyat to carry it out. The ulama have written extremely on the topic of ahliyat. Khatib Baghdadi rahmatullah alayhi has a subtitle in his kitab named Ma Jaa liman afta wa laysa huwa min ahli al-fatwa. What has been recorded concerning one who issues fatwa without being qualified to do so. A mustaqil chapter highlighting this aspect. Hafiz Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah has a title in his kitab I'lamul Muwaqqi'een, the mention of it being haram to issue fatwa with no knowledge, and that there is consensus on this. تكفير تحريم الإفتاء في دين الله بغير علم وذكر الإجماع على ذلك. Person who is not qualified and he has no qualification, for him to give ifta, to give a fatwa and a ruling is not permissible. Once Imam Rabi'atul Ra'i rahmatullah alayhi was sitting and crying. When he was asked the reason if he had suffered a calamity, he replied, such people have been asked for fatwa who are not suitable for it, and therefore there has been serious harm to Islam. Some of those who are issuing fatwa are more deserving of prison than the thieves. Some of those that are issuing fatwa are more deserving of prison than the thieves. This was his assumption. What he meant was that those who discuss what they are unqualified for are actually thieves of our deen. Those that discuss things that they are unqualified for are actually thieves of our deen. It reminds me here, I remember distinctly the days of our studies in Pakistan. Great ulama like Maulana Allama Yusuf bin Nouri rahmatullah alayhi, Mufti Shafi Sahab rahmatullah alayhi, Mufti Wali Hassan Sahab rahmatullah alayhi, and other great ulama kiram used to meet to discuss contemporary issues. Though they were highly qualified, yet they would discuss the contemporary issues before issuing a fatwa, because they knew this would affect the awam and the general masses. So they used to try the utmost best to have a unified fatwa. Despite having the ability, and despite being highly qualified, yet they used to gather regularly in the Madrasa Newtown. Some of our students that are sitting here may have also witnessed the spectacle where the great ulama kiram used to come, great luminaries and great qualified people of deen used to come and get together and to get a united stand. Imam Rabi, student, Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi, Imam Dar al-Hijrah says, I never sat down to give fatwa until 70 ulama testified that I am ahl and suitable for it. Great Imam like Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi says that he had never ventured into the field of giving fatwa till 70 ulama testified that I am ahl for it. The above highlights the importance of ahliyat in ilm and academic qualifications. However, in the deen of Islam, a qualified alim is one who together with his academic credentials, he also has the qualities of piety and taqwa. This is of extreme importance. One is to have the knowledge and one is to have the nur of ma'rifat and taqwa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Holy Quran, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Only the ulama will fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This ayat gives us the subtle meaning of khashyat, the fear of Allah, which is the fundamental ingredient in any alim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala endow us with this great ni'mat and great gift of khashyat. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu and others have said that لَيْسَ الْعِلْمُ بِكَسْرَةِ الرِّوَايَةِ إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ الْخَشْيَةِ. Knowledge is not judged by abundant riwayah. Ilm is but khashyat in the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third issue that we need to understand is on which issues can there be ikhtilaaf. Is it permissible to have ikhtilaaf in each and every issue, whatever one decides, whenever one decides to have a different view, then it is free for him to do so, or is this something that is restricted? The ulama kiram have written that debates usually occur on three subjects. Firstly, debates on which religion to follow, like Islam, Christianity, etc. Having differences on this issue is not allowed at all in Islam. The second issue is debates on issues of aqidah, like debates with the Qadariyah, Jahmiyah, Khawarij, etc. This type of debates is usually the habit of the deviant sects, the firaq batila, and is also discouraged, especially since it can lead one out of the fold of Islam. However, there is a leeway in discussing the subsidiary issues of aqidah, like for example, the Mi'raj of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is proven through tawatur, but the details that occurred in the night of Mi'raj are open to ikhtilaaf. Among the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were two groups that differed with each other on whether Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam did see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Mi'raj or not. The fact that they had ikhtilaaf on a subsidiary issue of aqidah proves the permissibility. And the third type of ikhtilaaf is debates on subsidiary issues of jurisprudence, that is al-furu' al-fiqhiyah. And the fiqh issues, this is where we have scope to differ with each other. However, we are allowed to differ only if there is no nas qat'i on the matter. And unless there is a nas qat'i, but it requires some explanation. Or otherwise, if there is any ambiguity in the matter, or if there is some apparent contradiction, then it is permissible to have different views. These issues are generally labeled as mujtahad fi. Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi writes that the mujtahideen, that the mujtahad fi issues are all those rules of Shari'ah which have no qat'i daleel. To summarize the above 2 points, we are allowed to differ firstly if we have the ahliyat, and secondly, the issue that is being debated is not supported by any nas qat'i. By nas qat'i, what is meant is qat'i dalala or qat'i subut. If these two clauses are ignored, then this turns into a khilaf. Instead of being a ikhtilaaf, in such a situation, there is no need for adab in this khilaf. One who discusses issues that he is not qualified for doesn't deserve respect. Rather, he would be set as an example to ward away others who may venture to do so. Similarly, when an orator or writer seeks to create ikhtilaaf in an issue which does not allow differences of opinion, then too the duty of the ulama is to expose him, to condemn him, and this is the part of ad-deen al-nasiha. But if the above conditions are indeed found, then we are requested to acknowledge this ikhtilaaf and respect its proponent. If need be, we may express our views if we differ in a most respectable manner without labeling our position as misguided or deviant. Extremely important that if we wish, we can express our views if they differ, but in a very respectable manner without labeling our opposition as misguided or deviant. And we are prone to ikhtilaaf. Imam Shafi rahmatullahi mentioned that whenever the opinion of man is going to be used, there will be differences. And when we study the history of the ummah, we find countless examples of ikhtilaaf, commencing right from the golden era of Nubuwah. Right from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ikhtilaaf has remained in the ummah from the golden eras. This is why one cannot say that ikhtilaaf is wrong. What is wrong is khilaf. The hadith that is very commonly quoted on this is the incident of offering salah in Banu Qurayza. We all know the difference of opinion among the two groups of Sahaba Kiram, Ridwanullah alayhim ajma'in. If ikhtilaaf was wrong in itself, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would have objected. However, since this was ikhtilaaf by those who were ahl, and on an issue in which ikhtilaaf is allowed, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam allowed it and he endorsed it. Some people have a misunderstanding that any sort of ikhtilaaf is wrong. You would commonly hear some ill-informed individuals saying, we have one Allah, one Rasul, one Quran, but 4 mazhabs. Some may even quote the verse of the Holy Quran, وَاعْتَصِبُوا بِحَبِّ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. This is a grave misunderstanding. They have made agreement on fiqh issues, the yardstick of unity, which is not the reality. If that was the case, that even the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were just united, na'udhu billah. In fact, the mere fact that the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had ikhtilaaf in fiqh issues is actually the clearest daleel for the permissibility of valid ikhtilaaf. Ikhtilaaf, like the ikhtilaaf of the Sahaba and Mujtahideen and other qualified people, is actually a mercy. A common complaint is that people become confused due to the differences of the ulama. In my humble opinion, the actual cause for the confusion isn't the ikhtilaaf itself. Rather, it is the manner in which people conduct, or the scholars conduct themselves in discussing this ikhtilaaf. So the question is, how do we manage ikhtilaaf? Let us look at the life of the seniors of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ikhtilaaf in the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There were numerous issues on which the cream of this ummah had differed upon. The example of Salasat al-Quru is famous between Sayyidina Zayd ibn Sabit radiyallahu ta'ala anhu and Hazrat Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. This ikhtilaaf didn't spoil their relationship in any way. The mutual understanding, the love that they had amongst themselves was not changed in any way by this ikhtilaaf. This ikhtilaaf among the companions has a major effect on the conflicting views of the mujtahideen of the ummah. There are several examples of Sahaba differing with each other on many issues. In Sahih Muslim there appears a narration in which Hazrat Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma had made a statement in which he erred. Sayyidina Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, when correcting him, started her response with the words, may Allah have mercy on Abu Abdul Rahman. After Ibn Hajar rahimullah says that Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha made dua and used his kunyat as a mark of respect when correcting him. Similarly, we have many other differences and ikhtilaaf that had occurred in the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There was differences between Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud in many masail. Similarly, there were differences between Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma and Hazrat Zayd bin Sabit radiallahu ta'ala anhu. But despite these differences, this did not affect the love, the respect, the honor and affection and the high esteem in which they had for each other. Ikhtilaaf of the tabi'een and a'immah. The esteemed audience is quite well aware of the ikhtilaaf of the famous a'immah arba'a and the contemporaries. In fact, these ikhtilaaf were not one or two ikhtilaafs, but they were ikhtilaafs in the hundreds. Like we all have gone through the kitabs of fiqh and have discussed these ikhtilaafat among these respected a'immah. Imam Tirmidhi rahmatullah alayhi discusses this ikhtilaaf in practically every chapter in the Sunan. After every hadith practically, Imam Tirmidhi rahmatullah alayhi mentions this ikhtilaaf of the a'immah arba'a. But yet we find that there was no disrespect, there was no verification, there was no insults, there was no quarreling, there was no fighting, there was no abuse that was hurled to either of them. Each of them differed with each other on many issues, but yet the respect was maintained and esteem of each other was not compromised in any way. Quotations on their tolerance. Imam Sufyan Sori rahimahullah says, when you see a man practicing on a view other than your preferred one, and as long as there is a legitimate ikhtilaaf on that issue, do not stop him. Do not stop him. Imam Uzai rahmatullah alayhi, also a great Imam, says, if a person asks me concerning the state of his wudu after kissing his wife, I will tell him to repeat his wudu. But if he doesn't do so, I will not object. This is the level of tolerance. Because there exists valid difference of opinion in this matter. Abdullah ibn Mubarak rahimahullah says, sometimes I see a hadith which may not support my view, neither do I intend to relate it to anyone, but I still make a note of it, so that in future if I notice any one of my peers acting in accordance to this hadith, I can at least justify it for him. Can you imagine to what level he goes? He says that he does not record this hadith because it supports his view, neither does he intend to relate it to anyone, but I do so, I make a note of it to see that, so that in future if I notice any of my peers acting in accordance with this hadith, I can at least justify it for him. Subhanallah, what pure souls, what extent do they go to in accommodating the opposition. The examples, there are countless inspiring examples of the respect and tolerance that our seniors had for valid ikhtilaaf. I will just mention three. Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi had finished his Muwatta. The Khalifa of the time, there is difference of opinion as to who it was, as Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi lived through the reign of three Khulafa. Told him, O Abu Abdullah, you will copy this book and distribute it throughout the lands and unite the Ummah and enforce this, so that you will eliminate all forms of differences. What was the reply of the great Imam? He said, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, the difference of the ulama of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Sunnah. And everyone follows that which is proved to be authentic by him. And everyone is upon guidance. Kullun ala hudan. And kullun yuridullah. Everyone intends the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the words of Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi, when he is offered to by the Khalifa that this kitab, the Muwatta, must be distributed throughout the lands and everybody must unite on this kitab. This is the reply that he gives. Imam Ahmad and Imam Uzai rahmatullah alayhi had met on one occasion and they began to discuss a particular issue relating to Shahada. A student of Imam Ahmad rahmatullah alayhi, Imam Abdul Aziz al-Ambari rahmatullah alayhi says, the voices were raised to such an extent that I felt that they may become bitter with each other. But at the end of the sitting, when Imam Uzai rahmatullah alayhi began to depart, Imam Ahmad rahmatullah alayhi, this is now regards to his student, got up and held his stirrup in place for him. That is the equivalent of straightening someone's shoes for them or opening the car door. This was the action of the Ustad, Imam Ahmad Muhammad rahimahullah. Imam Shafi rahmatullah alayhi once had a debate with one of his students, Yunus bin Adam al-Ala, on an issue in which they differed. A while later he took me, the student says, a while later he told me, he took hold of my hand and said, can't we just be brothers? even if you cannot agree on a single mas'ala. These incidents are indicative of the clean-heartedness and of the sincerity that these ulama-i-kiram had and the love they had for each other. The Ikhtilaaf of our Akabir, that time is completed. We talk about our Akabir, we refer to the Akabir of our Akabir of Indo-Pak. We all know the history and we know the differences that they had, especially the political differences between Hakim al-Ummah, rahimahullah, and Shaykh al-Islam, rahimahullah. We know one was supporting the Congress and one was supporting the Muslim League. And the love and the understanding and the feeling that they had is also very well known to us. How when Maulana Shaykh al-Islam, rahimahullah, had come, he had come to send the murids, in fact, to Hazrat Maulana Shaykh Ali Thanvi, rahmatullah alayhi, for bi'at. He had come himself with the Maulana Majid Ali Abadi, rahmatullah alayhi, to make him bi'at upon the hands of Maulana Thanvi, rahmatullah alayhi. And when somebody had spoken against Maulana Thanvi, rahmatullah alayhi, in his majlis, he had reprimanded him seriously and had told him to leave the majlis. You live with me, and you speak against the Buzrugani-Deen. You live with me, and you speak against Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi, rahmatullah alayhi. And when he had come to Thana Bhawan, very lengthy incident, very well known by us, we know the love and affection between them two, how it was expressed, how Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi, rahmatullah alayhi, had gone out of his way and had welcomed Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madni, rahmatullah alayhi, had stood up and embraced him. And Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madni, rahmatullah alayhi, had kissed his hand. And Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi had insisted that Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madni, rahmatullah alayhi, sit parallel to him and next to him. And thereafter, a very long incident, he gives him a turban, and I'm cutting it short because of time constraints. And then Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madni, rahmatullah alayhi, bows his head down and says, ask Hazrat Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi, rahmatullah alayhi, to tie that turban on his head. This was the love that they had for each other. On one occasion when he had come to Thana Bhawan, he was asked to lead the Fajr Salat. And he had said, Hazrat, some people may take offense. Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi, rahmatullah, told him, if that is the case, they can read namaz elsewhere. They can read namaz elsewhere. And after reading the Fajr Salat the Friday, he mentioned that Hazrat, thereafter, some people said maybe the Salat is not accepted because Hazrat had read the Sunnah Qiraat on the Friday and he made Sajda. He had made Sajda Tilawat, and some of the Musallis did not make Sajda Tilawat. Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi, rahmatullah, mentions that the barakat of this Salat, inshallah, all our Salats will be accepted. The Salats of our entire life will be accepted with the barakat of this Salat. Despite the differences, this was the love they had, this was the respect that they had, and many such incidents we can cite here. We understand from this the fact that the Salaf al-Salihin had legitimate differences of opinion is actually viewed as a mercy for the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allama Suyuti rahimahullah has written a book entitled Jazilul Mawahib fi Ikhtilaaf al-Mazahib, which translates to the abundant favor of Allah in the difference of the schools of thought. In conclusion, the contemporary wrongs on this issue. In my introduction, I have explained the difference between Ikhtilaaf and Khilaf. This is a vital difference that we should understand, and inshallah many issues can be resolved if we understand this. Those areas that we can make Ikhtilaaf are those opinions that constitute Ikhtilaaf and those that constitute Khilaf. The second thing is, a common issue nowadays is the presence of unqualified people forcing their opinions. This, in my view, is one of the major causes for the bitter disagreement that we are witnessing today. We find many people that are not qualified enough are forcing their opinions. Thirdly, many of us have failed to draw the line between issues in which Ikhtilaaf is tolerated and those where it is not acceptable. Nowadays, whenever there is any difference of opinion, it becomes publicized and ends up as an ugly spat. Like I said earlier, this is what confuses the general masses. We never found the seniors of the Ummah conducting themselves in this manner. In fact, in this country, I remember about 3 or 4 decades ago, there were major differences between the ulama bodies. But never did it surface in the awam. Never did it come out like it come out today. And there were major, as I mentioned, major, no time to go into the details. Our seniors just bailed me out here. There were major differences. But not on even one occasion did this surface and come out and become a matter of discussion for the awam al-nas. The last point under the subheading is lack of respect, whereby we tend to force our opinion upon others that are qualified muftis or scholars. We can draw a great lesson from the Akabir, like Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, when he was asked about the ruling of a newly married woman whose husband had passed away before stipulating her dower. Since he never had any clear ayat or hadith on this issue, he took up to 1 month to give his fatwa. And when he delivered his fatwa, he said, if it is correct, then it is from Allah. And if it is incorrect, then it is my own doing and that of shaitan. Imagine Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, such a high ranking Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is how he gives the fatwa. This was the method and nature of the A'immah and Mujtahideen as well. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi is reported to have said that this view of mine is based on my opinion and it's the best that I can do. If anyone produces something better, it would be preferred over my view. In fact, in another narration he mentions that this view of mine is an opinion which I will not force anyone to accept. This view of mine is an opinion which I will not force anyone to accept. It is precisely for this reason you find all the fuqaha put the following cautionary clause. Our view is correct in our opinion, but with the possibility of being wrong. While in our opinion, the view of our opposition is wrong, but it could possibly be the right one. Similar words were once mentioned by Shaykh al-Hind rahimahullah when it was mentioned to him that Maulana Thanvi rahmatullah alayhi supposed the other political view. He had rebuked the man and told him, Kya mere upar wahi aati hai? Does wahi come down onto me? It is possible that Imam Maulana Thanvi rahmatullah alayhi may be holding the correct opinion. They would not force any issue which was not proven beyond any doubt. How can a person force his view on others when sometimes he himself could end up changing his view later on? When the above 4 points are found, there can never be harmony and peace between the two groups. And confusion and bitterness spreads and the ummah at large suffers. I leave you with the words of the Honorable Mufti Ahmad Khanpuri, Madrasillah al-Ali, who were once sitting with him when a particular contemporary issue that was being hotly debated in South Africa was brought up. Hazrat Mufti Sahab mentioned that each party should express their views. Na wahi iske paas aati hai, na uske paas aati hai. Each group should express what is proven, what they stand for. Wahi does not come down to this party, nor to that party. And this is the reality of affairs. This is the reality of affairs, that nobody knows the reality of the truth. Only Allah, that is only known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are only mukallaf of researching the matter and applying our minds in the light of the Shari'ah, in the light of the usul of the Shari'ah, and thereafter whatever principles we deduct and extract, that is the one that we are obliged to follow. In conclusion, I also recommend these three books, Adabul Ikhtilaaf by Shaykh Awama, Damat Barakatuhu. It's a very, 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 very beautiful kitab, a very comprehensive kitab. It covers all aspects of Ikhtilaaf. Together with that also Hurud Ikhtilaaf by Hazrat Mufti Mahmud Sahab rahmatullah alayhi, and a kitab, The Unity of Islam by Mufti Shafi rahmatullah alayhi. I make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept this gathering, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instilled in us the lofty qualities of our pious predecessors, and guide us and accept us for the khidmah of His deen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.